First of all, regardless of your personal views, I'm sure you all share a sense of shock, horror, and for many of you, even if you didn't know them, a profound sense of grief for the cowardly and unlawful killings of Charlie Kirk and, of course, Iryna Zarutska this week, who heartbreakingly had sought refuge in the United States only to have her life tragically and cowardly taken, just as Charlie Kirk's. Charlie was at an event designed to encourage and promote the exchange of free speech and ideas, and literally died protecting what he believed in. Now, Charlie visited the UK recently and had a debate with Oxford and Cambridge University students. And Charlie believed that a revolution was coming to the UK, much like it was sweeping across the United States. What he meant, of course, was the promotion of free speech and the free exchange of ideas. Now, Charlie will forever be remembered for his promotion of free speech, and even within the UK. And this is why I focus on free speech on this channel a lot, because just recently, as pointed out by J.K. Rowling, an elected representative, Rosie Duffield, was advised by police not to attend a Labour conference because of the physical risk to her from trans activists. And J.K. Rowling says to Keir Starmer, "You did nothing, you showed no support, you criticise her for stating biological facts." And many others, YouTubers, commentators, have faced risks to their life. Charlie Veitch had what's referred to as an Osman warning, which is a warning from the police that there is a credible threat to life. These things are very real. And once again, a small favour, if you value free speech and my voice as an alternative to the mainstream media, please do subscribe to my channels. They are all growing thanks to each of you. Thank you so much. And I always come back to the law and what the law says and whether the law is really being upheld. And I fear that it's not. Looking back at Keir Starmer's statement here, he says, regarding Charlie Kirk, "My thoughts this evening are with the loved ones of Charlie Kirk. It is heartbreaking that a young family has been robbed of a father and a husband." But then he goes on to say, which I think has stirred up the internet in frustration and anger, aimed really at not just at Keir Starmer, but at this government in the UK, the establishment in general, because many people across the UK simply do not feel that we have free speech. Keir Starmer said as follows. He said, "We must all be free to debate openly and freely without fear. There can be no justification for political violence." Now, as you can imagine, lots of people, myself included, have responded to this. I personally, this is a rare opinion for me on this channel, I said, this is rich insult coming from someone who labelled half the country and those calling for an inquiry into grooming gangs far right. Now, you'll have probably seen in recent news stories where people have been arrested for holding up a sign or making statements or even preaching, or in one case, she was putting up a flag, although the police in that case justified it by saying that she was protesting out of the designated area and nothing to do with the flag. But many people in the comments suggested that other people protesting other causes with other flags have done so in areas outside of a designated area, and they did not get arrested. And that's been happening for many, many months now. And the challenges to free speech, of course, don't end there. As Free Speech Union notes here, whilst Angela Rayner is gone from her position, her banter ban remains in place. Because this was legislation that would make companies and employers responsible and liable for harassment by third parties under Clause 20. In essence, this means if someone, for example, inside a pub, in a bar, if someone were offended by the comments of somebody else, a third party, the employer could be liable for those if they don't take all steps to prevent that from happening, if they don't prevent them from feeling harassed by that third party comment. Turning Point UK conservative activist and political organisation responded to Keir Starmer and said, "Your Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, described us and Charlie as sinister forces and xenophobic. Other Labour MPs have protested with violent far-left activists who attacked us. The language your party and the wider left uses to describe people like Charlie and us is the reason we face this violence. Shame on you. And as always, I look for the receipts, as it were, for these sort of things. So I looked up David Lammy's post here, and it's absolutely right. David Lammy, back in 2019, posted as follows: transformation of the Tories from a centre-right economically conservative party to one that openly promotes hard-right xenophobic bile in just a few years shows what happens when you appease. We should fight for our values on Brexit and immigration. And in my view, it is these kind of words and this kind of language by people who are now in charge of this country, labelling people hard right and xenophobic, that places prejudice into the minds of others and eventually into the minds of those who are quite willing to do other people harm. There are some quotes online, which I won't put on here because some of them are frankly disturbing for many of you, but some of the response to the killing of Charlie Kirk and indeed Iryna Zarutska are absolutely vile and disgusting. But they show the extreme views of those who fight against, ostensibly, the right to free speech, free expression, and exchange of ideas. And so that brings me on to the real thrust for this video, which is posing the question, do we really have trust and confidence in this government? Because, as you know, I like to keep this channel about law, but obviously the government, Parliament in general, is responsible as the supreme lawmaking body of this country. And if the vast majority of the public do not have confidence in this government, then I think we are in a bit of trouble. I'm referring, of course, to as of this morning, the sacking of Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States for leaked emails with links to Jeffrey Epstein. More about those in just a minute. This is the moment that it was announced in Parliament that Peter Mandelson has been removed from his appointment as ambassador to the United States. Watch.
Mr. Speaker, in light of additional information in emails written by Peter Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to the United States. The emails show, Mr. Speaker, that the depth and extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. In particular, Mr. Speaker, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information.
But Peter Mandelson is, of course, just the latest of ministers to have been sacked or resigned. Previously, obviously, we had Angela Rayner, who resigned over the scandal of her underpaid tax and question marks over whether the value of the property was inflated. So, of course, she resigned. Rushanara Ali, the homelessness minister, resigned after making people homeless and then reportedly increasing rents immediately afterwards. Tulip Siddiq, the anti-corruption minister, resigned over allegations of corruption. Louise Haigh resigned because of old accusations of fraud and failing to correct the police record regarding a stolen mobile phone. And, of course, Andrew Gwynn, who was sacked as health minister and suspended from the party after it emerged from messages that he'd said that he hoped a pensioner who didn't support him would die before the next set of elections, and also made other racist and sexist comments, including about Angela Rayner and Diane Abbott. But more recently, and back to Peter Mandelson and the leaked emails and links to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Downing Street insisted that they followed due process before appointing him as ambassador to the United States. One then has to question the veracity, the detail, and attention to detail of that due process in appointing him, when he obviously had these links as reported to Jeffrey Epstein. Within those leaked emails, he once described Jeffrey Epstein as his best pal. He urged him to fight for early release. He said, "Your friends will stay with you and love you." He said, "I think the world of you and I feel hopeless and furious about what happened." He said, "I can still barely understand it. It just could not happen in Britain." Now, this after Keir Starmer said that Peter Mandelson had his full confidence, not just 24 hours ago. Just like he said he had full confidence in Angela Rayner, just like he said he had full confidence in Tulip Siddiq, just as he said he had full confidence in Louise Haigh. all of whom have either now resigned or been sacked by Keir Starmer. This raises the question, how can we have full confidence in whatever this full due process was and in this government in general? And ultimately, public views and perception are inevitably captured in the polls. Public losing confidence in Starmer over migration, according to a new poll. And as you can see from YouGov polls, the number of people who find Keir Starmer incompetent is on the rise, untrustworthy is on the rise, and indecisive also on the rise. Because as obviously you can tell, he had confidence in each of these ministers before they resigned or he was forced to sack them. But as I say, this might be a political video, but this is really a turning point for the law of the United Kingdom, particularly on free speech, free expression and the exchange of ideas. So leave me your thoughts, comments and your well wishes for Charlie and Iryna in the comments below. Please do subscribe to the channel if you support free speech. And as always, thank you for watching.